It was 3:17 p.m. on a Friday when they called her into conference room C, the one with the flickering LED light that buzzed like a pissed-off wasp. She knew the walk before she even stood up, shoulders suddenly too square, the HR girl with the sympathy smile standing next to a man in a too-tight suit. That was the new CFO, Benton. Fresh from some overpriced consulting firm that probably printed its diplomas on vibes and venture capital. His teeth were too white, his handshake too dry, and his ideas smelled like PowerPoint slides covered in Axe body spray. "We're streamlining operations," he said, like that was supposed to sound sexy instead of gutting. "Nothing personal, just numbers." Funny thing, she was the numbers. 18 months of blood, sweat, and carpal tunnel spent building a payroll system so efficient it made Swiss watches blush. She coded it after hours, during lunch breaks, even on Thanksgiving weekend when her turkey was still defrosting. And now Benton was sweeping her out like expired printer toner. They offered her a severance package, 3 weeks, no benefits, and said it with the enthusiasm of a dentist breaking bad news about molars. HR handed her a cardboard box that still had a mustard stain from the last layoff. It smelled like fear and someone's microwaved fish. And as she stood there, gripping that box like it held the last shreds of her dignity, something odd happened. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't even blink, she just smiled. Because what Benton didn't know and what no one in that room bothered to ask was that the payroll demon, the very one about to process 5,000 paychecks next week, required a little something special. A time-sensitive key, generated monthly, sent exclusively to her personal Gmail. But sure, tell her she's non-essential. And while I've got you here, let me break the fourth wall for a hot second. You're probably one of the 97% listening to this without subscribing. That's cool, I get it, commitment is scary. But hey, hitting that button helps me hit my first 10,000 subs like ever, and it means I can keep bringing you stories like this one, where corporate karma gets served piping hot. So go ahead, smash it, I'll wait. Anyway, she packed up her desk with the calm precision of someone leaving a crime scene without leaving fingerprints. Coffee mug, in tiny cactus she never watered. In the "you don't have to be crazy to work here but it helps" plaque. That one stayed. Let M keep it. A little memento mori for the next poor soul. The IT manager, Greg, hovered nearby, clearly uncomfortable. He looked like he wanted to say something. Maybe sorry. Maybe you were the only one who knew how the scheduler worked. Maybe just I didn't vote for this. But in the end, he just gave her a stiff nod and pretended to check his watch. She paused in the doorway, turned once and said, "Make sure someone updates the demon before the 28th. Greg blinked. The what? But she was already gone, stepping into the elevator like a ghost clocking out of her own funeral. What followed was silence. Not rage, not revenge. Just quiet, ice-cold calculation. They thought she'd fade into the background, crawl to LinkedIn with a sob story, maybe pivot to freelancing. But she had other plans. Plans that didn't involve salvaging what they broke. Plans that involved letting them burn in the fire they lit. And the best part? They wouldn't even smell the smoke until payday. She showed up the next morning to clean out the rest of her desk, even though nobody asked her to. She didn't like leaving things half-finished. Some habits don't die, even when your access badge does. The security guard didn't even make eye contact, just buzzed her in like she was some ghost stuck in a corporate purgatory. A few folks from accounting mumbled awkward goodbyes, one handed her a half-eaten muffin like it was a condolence prize. She smiled, nodded, accepted it like an Oscar statue, and tossed it in the trash 5 feet later. Greg from IT was crouched near her old cubicle, pretending to fix something. Wires, maybe, or just his conscience. He kept stealing glances like a kid who broke a window but hoped you hadn't noticed. She decided to throw him a bone. "Oh, and before I forget," she said, slipping her thumb drive into her bag, "someone's gonna need to update the payroll demon before the 28th. Otherwise, the authentication'll expire." Greg blinked, like she'd spoken in Aramaic. The what? The demon? She looked him dead in the eyes. The thing that talks to the payment processors. Monthly key, clock's already ticking. He gave her the nod people give when they didn't understand a single syllable but want the conversation to end. Right, got it. She knew he didn't. Knew he'd file it away in the mental junk drawer with set up out-of-office reply and buy almond milk. But that wasn't her problem anymore. She took one last slow turn around her cube. The half-dead succulent, the cursed office chair that squeaked like a haunted swing set, the sticky note from Meyer in HR that said "don't let the bastards grind you down." She left it all. Left it for the next overqualified sucker who'd try to keep this sinking ship afloat with duct tape and unpaid overtime. By the time she hit the lobby, the CFO was doing his TED talk routine in the glass meeting room, all chest puffs and market speak, probably pitching future-proof payroll to the board without realizing he'd just fired the future. And the proof? She lingered by the door long enough to see him laugh at something. Smug bastard didn't even know the blade was already in. She didn't bring up the Gmail restriction. Didn't mention that the key generator was an off-grid tool she'd written herself because IT wouldn't approve a cloud license. Didn't say how she encrypted the unlock path behind a tokenized wall, so strong it'd take a month of brute force just to see the error message. Why would she? They didn't ask. And as the door swung closed behind her, the fluorescent lights humming overhead, the wheels were already in motion. She could practically hear the countdown, every second clicking forward toward the 28th. Thursday morning rolled in like a hangover no one remembered drinking for. It was calm. At first, phones rang, Slack pings buzzed, someone in HR microwaved a breakfast burrito that made the whole floor smell like gym socks and regret. Business as usual on the surface. But under it, just below the surface tension of fake smiles and corporate buzzwords, something was off. The first ripple came around 9:12 a.m. Hey, when do pay stubs usually drop? It was an innocent enough question from one of the newer hires in marketing. Girl named Tori, who still believed in bringing cupcakes for birthdays and wearing company-branded hoodies unironically. She asked it during the daily stand-up, voice light like she already knew the answer. But the room got quiet. Payroll usually processed on the 27th, with stubs going live in the employee portal by noon. Direct deposits landed the next morning, reliable as death and dental plans. That was the one thing the company never screwed up. Ever. So when the junior accountant, Bryce, all gelled hair and monster energy, refreshed the dashboard and saw a red error blinking next to the scheduled transfer batch, he frowned. Clicked it again. Still red. Probably just a delay, he muttered to no one because no one wanted to hear otherwise. He opened a ticket to IT with the subject line, payroll error probably nothing, then went back to calculating mileage reimbursements and doom-scrolling Reddit. Meanwhile, in the back-end system she'd built from the ground up, a quiet handshake request was initiated, just like it had every month prior. The system, on schedule and polite as ever, pinged her private Gmail. Subject, authentication required monthly payroll token expired. The message was short, clinical. It included the timestamp, the daemon ID, the encrypted shell route, and a prompt to initiate the monthly unlock key. She saw it on her phone while sipping coffee in her apartment. Let it sit unread for a moment, then tapped, held, and deleted. No response, no bounce back, just a void. Back at the office, Greg from IT was ignoring that same error log. He had bigger problems, like migrating the intern team to the new VPN software and trying to figure out why the Wi-Fi kept dropping in the West Wing. The payroll demon's failed ping was buried under system noise, logged as a non-critical delay. The system flagged the missing key once, then again 6 hours later, then entered silent mode. At 5:47 p.m., Bryce opened the admin panel one last time before leaving. The red error was still there. It now read, auth pending, token not received. He blinked, hovered his mouse over the alert, read it twice, then shrugged. It'll fix overnight, he told himself, grabbing his jacket. That night, several employees checked their online bank accounts out of habit, just to make sure things were lined up. Some noticed their pay stub section said pending. One posted in the company Discord, anyone else's stub not showing? Just wanna make sure it's not me lol, another replied. Probably just updating. It's been glitchy, before they all went to bed thinking the system would autocorrect. That maybe Greg would run a patch or Bryce would poke the back end, and everything would hum back to life. No one knew the lockout had already hardened. No one realized they were now 14 hours away from a full-scale financial blackout. And the only person with the key? She was watching a rerun of Columbo with her phone on silent and a very full glass of wine. Friday, 7:03 a.m. Phones began ringing before the lights even flickered on in HR. Not the polite, pre-coffee kind of calls. No hey, just checking in energy. These were furious, panicked, end-of-the-world calls. Grown men growling into voicemail. Single moms crying mid-sentence. A regional sales rep in Tulsa demanding to know why his mortgage payment just bounced. By 7:41 a.m., the receptionist stopped answering entirely. She was in the bathroom hyperventilating after getting cursed out for the 5th time in 7 minutes. At 8 o'clock sharp, company Slack exploded. Where is payroll? My rent is due today. What is going on? I just checked with my bank. No deposit, nothing pending either. HR posted a blanket message at 8:09 a.m. We are currently investigating a delay in payroll processing. Please remain patient. That did not go over well. By 9:17 a.m., someone from the warehouse staff posted a TikTok titled When Payday Ghosts You and You Still Gotta Pack Boxes. It featured them dramatically eating top ramen in the break room while crying fake tears. The video had 14,000 views by lunchtime. The hashtag #GhostPayroll started trending regionally by noon. HR tried to do damage control. Meetings were called. The IT department was asked for urgent clarification. Greg, red-eyed and jittery, fumbled through logs and kept muttering things like protocol mismatch and it shouldn't be doing this. And the CFO stepped in. Benton, with his $200 haircut and that same shark smile he'd worn during the layoffs. He walked into the IT war room like Caesar returning to Rome, completely confident that the peasants were just being dramatic. All right, he said, cracking his knuckles like he was about to perform open-heart surgery with a PowerPoint. Let's manually override the queue and force a deposit batch through the system. Greg didn't even respond, just handed Benton a keyboard. Benton clicked through the payroll admin panel, half impressed with himself, half annoyed, got to the master scheduler, clicked override authentication. The screen blinked, then a prompt popped up. Authentication key expired. Please enter valid monthly token. He tried again. Same screen, clicked request key, error, key not stored on local server. Please check authorized endpoint. Benton scowled. Okay, so where the hell is the key, Greg? Sweating through his tech conference hoodie, cleared his throat like a man trying not to die on the spot. It was programmed to pull the token from an external email endpoint. What endpoint? Silence. Greg looked like a man explaining gravity to a caveman. It's coded to a Gmail address. Personal, the dev who wrote the system. She said it that way when we didn't have secure cloud licensing. Benton's jaw twitched. Are you telling me, he hissed, that the one person with access to the payroll key is someone we fired last week? Greg didn't say yes. He didn't have to. The silence said it for him. And just like that, the illusion shattered. The shiny new CFO, the master of efficiency and streamlined operations, had just learned the difference between cutting costs and amputating arteries. Outside, the building's front desk was surrounded by employees holding up mobile banking apps and shaking heads. Inside, chaos took root. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some said it was a cyber attack. Others said it was an accounting glitch. One guy from marketing said it was Mercury retrograde. But the truth? The truth sat quietly in an email server no one could access. And the woman who could, she was at brunch, laughing, forking into a cinnamon roll the size of her former boss's ego. Her phone vibrated once on the table, lit up with the system's second failed handshake of the day. She didn't even look, just reached over, flipped the phone face down, and sipped her coffee. By noon, the CFO's polished composure had cracked into a full-body twitch. Benton was pacing like a rat in a shoebox, tie half undone, barking orders with the elegance of a drowning man. IT had been summoned, all of them, to the main conference room, where they were now engaged in the world's most miserable group debugging session. Greg sat hunched over his terminal, chewing the inside of his cheek raw. His monitor pulsed with the same stubborn message for the third hour straight. Auth key required, external endpoint unreachable. It was official now, confirmed, documented, and screenshotted. The payroll script was encrypted, deeply and beautifully so, locked behind a tokenized key generator that accepted one, and only one source of validation, an email push to a whitelisted address. Her Gmail, not payroll at CompanyCom, not Benton CFO at Futura Traqueo. Her damn Gmail, and it didn't just send the request, it required a direct open of the email, plus a physical 2FA token to verify the receipt, all coded into a system she'd written under the radar, when IT wouldn't approve the company's cloud key vault access. She built this whole thing herself? Benton snapped as if it was some kind of betrayal to be competent. Greg nodded without looking up. Yeah, she offered to build a token storage protocol on site, but finance shot it down. Said we didn't need it if she could just handle it manually. He glanced up. So, she did. The board liaison, a nervous woman with a Bluetooth earpiece and an aura of constant legal dread, asked the obvious question. Can we bypass it? Greg laughed. It wasn't a funny laugh. It was the laugh of a man who knew the difference between oops and were about to get sued in 17 states. She embedded a time delay checksum with a decaying cipher. If we brute force it, we'll corrupt the job queue. If we spoof it, the system auto-wipes the scheduled payments. It's like payroll suicide. So how do we get the key? Greg turned his monitor around and showed the screen. The system had already pinged her Gmail 4 times that day, each attempt politely titled, Unlock Key Request Monthly Payroll Batch 06/28. The last one had timestamped itself just 10 minutes ago. Across town, she was lying on a rooftop pool chair, sunscreen glistening on her collarbone, margarita sweating on the tile beside her. Her phone buzzed quietly next to her. She peeked at it, saw the subject line, and smiled the kind of smile you wear when your ex texts I miss you during their rebound breakup. Then she swiped left and hit delete. No ceremony, no drama, just calm detachment. She wasn't being petty. This wasn't revenge, not yet. This was the squirming, the slow realization that they'd cut off the limb that knew how the blood flowed. Back at the office, someone in legal asked if they had her phone number. HR said yes, but it was flagged inactive. She'd changed it a week ago. Another asked if they could email her. Greg raised an eyebrow. What's that email gonna say exactly? Hey, remember how we dumped you with no notice in a cardboard box? Could you come save us for free? The CFO clenched his jaw so hard it sounded like gravel grinding. Find her, but they all knew she wouldn't be found. She'd be watching. And the best part, there were still 13 hours left before the next deposit window closed. Still time for Benton to believe he could salvage this. Still hope clinging to the edges of their egos. She wanted them to reach out. She wanted them to need her. Because when they finally did, she'd write the terms. By 3:00 p.m., the office morale was shot full of holes and leaking anxiety like a punctured life raft. The snack bar was raided. The espresso machine was working overtime. Slack channels, once filled with cat memes and passive-aggressive emoji replies, now read like a live autopsy. And then the outreach campaign began. They didn't send a formal request at first. No, that would have meant admitting fault. Instead, it started with soft touches. A few emails from former coworkers, dressed up in casual concern and poorly disguised desperation. Subject, hey, quick cue if you're around smiling face with smiling eyes body. Hi, so sorry to bother you. Hope you're doing well. Small weird thing with the payroll script came up. Probably nothing major. Just thought you might be the best person to ask, haha. Totally understand if you're busy. She read them while lounging in bed, wrapped in a throw blanket that smelled like lavender and zero stress. Her laptop sat open beside her, streaming a documentary about octopuses solving mazes, creatures, she thought, who were deeply underappreciated until they escaped their tanks. She didn't reply. The messages kept coming. A junior HR rep named Emily sent one with the subject line urgent, just need a tiny favor. The body was practically a digital whimper. Something about escalating confusion and legal exposure, and this wasn't your fault. Everyone knows that. No response. Then came Benton. At 3:42 p.m., her Gmail dinged. Subject line was sterile as a surgeon's scalpel. Subject. Official request for assistance payroll access. The message inside reeked of a man trying to sound benevolent while stepping over the very shovel he used to dig his own grave. Miss Alvarez, in the interest of preventing unnecessary escalation, we are requesting your professional cooperation in resolving the current payroll access issue. While your previous employment has concluded, your knowledge remains valued. We would appreciate your urgent input to avoid further disruption. Regards, Thomas Benton, Chief Financial Officer. She stared at the email like it was a dead raccoon left on her porch. Then she typed exactly 8 words. I no longer work there. Best of luck. Hit send. Open settings, blocked his address. Then she laughed, not a cackle, not a villain's laugh, just a quiet, satisfied breath of air, like finally shutting a door that should have been closed years ago. Back at the office, Benton's jaw unhinged when he saw the reply. That's it, he barked. That's all she said? Greg leaned back from his monitor. She's not wrong. By 5 p.m., rumors were oozing through the building like black mold. People said she'd booby-trapped the script, that she built a backdoor and sabotaged the company on purpose, that she was working with a competitor. One guy swore he saw her shadow in the parking lot last night like she was Batman with a vendetta. But none of it could be proven. The logs were clean, the code elegant, the system wasn't broken. It was simply waiting like a locked vault with a timer no one could hack. They'd fired the only person who knew the combination. And now she had their dignity, their desperation, and their public image dangling by a thread. She wasn't gloating. She wasn't hiding. She was detached. The kind of detached that comes after years of unpaid labor, quiet condescension, and watching promotions go to people who said synergy without vomiting. She'd moved on. But they were stuck. Payday was over. The deposits never landed. And Monday morning, the lawsuits would begin. Monday hit like a wrecking ball dipped in legalese. The first subpoena arrived at 7:48 a.m., served directly to HR by a guy who looked thrilled to hand it over. By 10:15, there were 7 more. 1 from California, 2 from New York, 3 from Texas, and a particularly aggressive one from Illinois, where a team lead had already contacted a labor attorney and a local news affiliate. By noon, the words class action had been spoken out loud enough times to trigger nosebleeds. The employees weren't just mad. They were mobilized. Reddit threads lit up with horror stories. Hashtags evolved from #GhostPayroll to #fire and #forget-me-not and #but she warned you. Anonymous Glassdoor reviews started surfacing with surgical precision. One-liners like Benton couldn't manage a microwave dinner, let alone a finance department. The board convened an emergency Zoom session. Their faces looked like a bouquet of ulcers. I thought she was junior staff, one VP muttered. She built the system, Greg clarified, clearly exhausted. End-to-end, modular encryption, token authentication. Smart Q failover. She was payroll. The head of legal, a man named Don who hadn't had a good night's sleep since the Clinton administration, looked like his blood pressure had entered another time zone. Why the hell wasn't she listed as mission critical? Benton said she was non-essential, someone offered. The Zoom went quiet. Don turned to Benton, who was slumped in a chair in the corner of the conference room, collar damp with flop sweat, cheeks blotchy from stress. You fired the one person with master access to the system? Don said slowly, like explaining fire to a caveman. She didn't say anything in her exit interview. Benton snapped back. If she had told us, she did tell you. Greg cut in, tired of playing dumb. She said someone needed to update the daemon before the 28th. Daemon? One board member asked. What the hell is that? It's like the heartbeat of the system, Greg replied. If it doesn't get fed the right key at the right time, it locks out everything. And you didn't fix that? I can't. Only she has the encryption path and the key generator. It's stored locally on her personal machine. It's not corporate property. So, hire her back, someone finally said, exasperated. Everyone turned to legal. Don shook his head. She's under no obligation to help. Severance was signed. Terms were clean. She holds the key. We hold nothing. Well, get her on the phone. Greg pulled out his phone, clearly reluctant. She blocked Benton, blocked HR. The only response I've gotten in 3 days was a thumbs-up emoji to a meme I sent last year. They tried email. Again, no response. They tried LinkedIn. Her status read, currently OOO. Please direct inquiries to your life choices. It took 4 hours, but they finally tracked down her emergency contact through old HR paperwork, her cousin Nate, who ran a jet ski rental shack in Clearwater Beach. Nate's response, "Oh yeah, she's here. She just finished a Mango de Query and rented a paddleboard. I think her phone's in airplane mode." When they asked if she could call back, he snorted. "Dude, she's been laughing for 3 days, said something about watching finance bros do the worm." The CFO, now visibly shaking, muttered, "She's on vacation?" Greg nodded. "Yup. Can she come back temporarily?" Greg shrugged. "I'll have to ask her. But judging by her last Git commit message, good luck, boys, you're gonna need it, I wouldn't hold your breath." The board demanded a plan. Dawn said the only plan was begging. Benton said nothing. Just stared at the screen, realizing too late that severance doesn't mean surrender and silence isn't forgiveness. They needed her. And for the first time, it wasn't her resume doing the talking. It was reality. It took until Tuesday afternoon for them to finally swallow their pride and contact her lawyer. Not HR, not Benton, not Greg with his twitchy apologies and Starbucks gift cards. Her lawyer, a soft-spoken woman named Evelyn whose voice could cut through a boardroom like a chainsaw through butter. She took the call during her lunch break and listened, calmly, professionally, as a legal rep from the company stumbled through a prepared statement about seeking external consulting support to restore operational continuity. Evelyn didn't interrupt. She let the silence hang just long enough to remind them who was begging. Then she said, "My client is willing to listen, but only on her terms." A PDF landed in the company inbox 30 minutes later. It was a masterpiece. Consulting agreement proposal duration. 6 months role. Lead systems recovery consultant compensation. $150,000 flat retainer, paid upfront working hours. Remote, asynchronous, her discretion, no meetings. No Zoom calls. No deliverables without prior notice. And at the very bottom, in bold, underlined and highlighted yellow, condition of engagement. Public acknowledgement of the company's failure. A signed letter of apology from CFO Thomas Benton, to be posted on the internal company intranet homepage for a minimum of 7 days. They read that line 10 times like it was written in hieroglyphs. Benton's reaction was nuclear. "I'm not signing a damn confession." He exploded, pacing the room like a coked-up stockbroker. "This is extortion." Greg didn't even look up from his laptop. "No, Tom, this is justice. Legal advised compliance." Board demanded compliance. By 6 p.m., a document began circulating the upper floors for approval. "To all future track employees, we acknowledge the recent disruption in payroll services and take full responsibility for the oversight that led to it. The systems previously managed by Miss Alvarez were integral to company operations, and her departure was mishandled. We apologize for the stress and hardship this caused. You're actively working with her to resolve the matter and ensure this never happens again." Thomas Benton, CFO, he signed it. In silence. The next morning, employees opened their laptops and saw it pinned to the home page. The reactions were immediate. Slack blew up. Screenshots hit Reddit. Someone photoshopped Benton into a doghouse next to a gold-plated welcome back, Queen plaque. HR tried to do damage control but gave up before lunch. At 11:45 a.m., her lawyer forwarded the payment receipt. $150,000 wired. Immediate, confirmed. At 12:01 p.m., Evelyn emailed a 2-word message to the payroll server administrator. "Stand by." Back on the coast, she sat beneath a striped umbrella, swirling iced coffee with one hand and flipping through a thriller novel with the other. Her phone vibrated once, a single, harmless ping. She unlocked it and opened a terminal app. Typed 5 lines, hit send. The demon purred to life like a dragon waking from hibernation. It accepted the key without hesitation. Inside the company's backend, the scheduled payments queued like perfect little soldiers. The system hummed. The monster she built had been fed. And for the first time in 5 days, nobody at Future Track said a word. She didn't ask for thanks. She didn't want applause. She wanted them to live with the knowledge that they'd had to kneel. That the same people who ignored her emails, questioned her salary, and called her support staff had just paid her more in one day than they ever did in a quarter. She controlled the keys. She wrote the rules, and they'd put it all in writing. The code arrived at precisely 11:59 p.m., not a second early, not a second late. A slim, 128-character string embedded in a simple TXT file titled "You're Welcome TXT," attached to a barebones email with no subject line, no signature. Just the words, "Key below. Don't lose it this time." The demon received it instantly. The lock opened, the gears turned, and like magic, no, like precision, 5,000 direct deposits scattered across the country like dollar bills in a hurricane. Payroll hit at 12:01 a.m. on the dot. The second disaster had been narrowly avoided by 60 seconds. Phones stopped ringing. Emails stopped screaming. A silence fell over the building like fresh snow, unnatural, soft, and filled with unspoken dread. In HR, a junior associate actually cried. In accounting, someone ordered pizza. In IT, Greg locked himself in the server room and chain-smoked 3 vapes while whispering "thank you" like a prayer. But it wasn't over, not even close. Because while the money flowed, so did the truth. At 6:18 a.m., a screenshot of Benton's apology letter, pinned to the company intranet, hit Twitter. Captioned, "Turns out our payroll system runs on humiliation." Within 2 hours, it had been picked up by Tech Pulse, The Verge, and a scathing op-ed in Wired titled Fired, Then Required, How One Woman Outcoded Corporate Arrogance. The press couldn't get enough. A mid-level systems analyst had single-handedly held a tech company's payroll hostage, not maliciously, not illegally, but as a result of being too damn good at her job. And then she got paid six figures to clean up the mess the people above her made. By the end of the day, the CFO was invisible. PR wrote a statement saying he was taking time to reflect with family. Nobody bought it. By Friday, his resignation was official. No fanfare, no goodbye email, just a forwarded effective immediately memo. His legacy was simple. He fired the woman who ended up saving the company. And she was sipping coffee on a balcony bathed in 78-degree sunlight, wrapped in a linen robe that smelled like lavender, watching two pigeons fight over a croissant crumb on the deck railing. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen. From hiring at Rathlen Techcom subject. Lead systems architect role $450K package. She locked the phone without opening it. Not because she wasn't interested, but because they could wait. They all could wait now. She'd already won. And this time, she wasn't selling her piece for a salary. Big thanks for watching, you sneaky seniors. Subscribe to keep the coffee pot brewing revenge. Your ex-colleagues won't know what hit 'em.